Everybody, welcome back to the How to Podcast series. Now, I work nights, and I'm always looking for a partner to keep me busy, keep me active, my mind engaged. And I listen to a lot of podcasts about podcasting. I have to admit. And when I came across this podcast, I found it to be the most pod-savviest of podcasts about podcasting, and a wonderful voice. Fills my ears at work, and Steph keeps me company at work. And I reached out and said, Steph, I would love to have you on the How to Podcast series as my guest co-host because you bring so much value to your community. I am part of your community, and I just hope that you would say yes. And she said yes, and she's here. So the voice in my head is now on my screen, and I'm so excited to have Steph on the podcast. Steph, welcome to the How to Podcast series as my guest co-host. I am thrilled to have you here.
Dave, that's like the best introduction ever. You really know how to make someone feel great. So thank you for that.
Well, thank you for keeping me company. You are a great companion at work. I know that we are meeting virtually in person today for the first time, but people talk about this in podcasting all the time, Steph, that when you connect with a podcaster that you know and love, you have a picture of them in your mind. You know little things about them, you get to know them, and there's this relationship built over time as you just interact with a podcast you love. So I feel like I've known you for years just by having time with you. So thank you for your show. Pod Savvy Guide is just awesome. And I love the guests you have on. I love the topics you cover. And I feel like you and I are on a similar plane, like we're kind of going in the same direction. And to have you on is a thrill for me. So welcome.
Thanks. I mean, we're
Yay.
both pod nerds, so I'm excited. Like, anytime I can be around someone that wants to nerd out about podcasting, I'm like, absolutely.
Okay, so we got to start with a plug.
Okay.
For those people who haven't come to Pod Savvy yet, which you will, Steph, tell them about the show, a little bit of the origin of the show. Go promote this thing. Come on.
So the reason that I started this is because, being a DIY podcast producer, like when you're starting your own show, it can seem overwhelming. And I learned everything from YouTube University, right? And so I wanted something that people could go and search, whether it was like news that was going on in podcasting, different tips, but also it gave me when you have the accountability, it's like, oh, I want to implement this thing in my podcasting. Well, let's do a show about it. Oh, I want to book more guests. Well, let's do a show about me booking guests. So sort of give that accountability. And I do it on Saturdays because, working a full-time job, Saturdays were always just like my podcast day, where I would get so excited. I couldn't wait for it to be the weekend because all I wanted to do was podcast.
Okay, so how long has Pod Savvy Guide been going?
I actually just started it last year. So this is one of my newer shows, but I've been podcasting since 2017, and I'm not quite to where you are with 2,000 episodes, but I'm almost at 1,000. So
come on. Wow.
So okay. Halfway there.
Talk a little bit about the podcasting that you've been doing in the past for the business side as well, because you get to play in both fields.
Yeah.
So talk a little bit about what you do there.
So for work, it's interesting because we do business to business podcasting, which is so different than business to consumer, right? We don't care if anyone's listening. We only care about that guest, right? So we'll sort of we do a prep call to connect with them. We have a follow-up system. It's all about us bonding with that guest, because oftentimes salespeople, if you go to lunch, what does the salesperson usually do? Talk about themselves the whole time, right? And like a podcast, it's been so cool to see. We bring them in, they're all in person, we're wanting to do business with people locally to us. And that usually at the end, they're usually like, man, that was so great. I would love to do business with you guys. And it's like, we haven't even brought up our business, but we just listened and cared,
Okay. What about, I always like to ask podcasters when they come on, do you have a good starting point for the Pod Savvy Guide? Where would a new listener come to your show? Where would they start? Most recent episode, back to episode 1. I've listened since episode 1, but where would you send a new listener to your show?
a new listener, I would probably send to, I did 5 solo episodes, and that's what I teach people of, like, to start, just do a solo episode. And I had like 10 questions. So I probably would start on that first solo episode because I'm recording it just with my phone. I'm using the Riverside FM app. And so I feel like it's a sort of feel of how to do your first solo episode. So that, or I love the episode I did with Kendall from Riverside FM because I'm always talking about Riverside. She gave so many great tips, but.
Okay, good. See, that's the one thing I've been encouraging podcasters to have that answer is because people are like, yeah, come find me wherever you find podcasts. Okay, that's good. But what am I looking for? Like when I get there, where do I start? Because like you come to my show and I've got X number of episodes. It's like, I don't even know where to begin. Like, right. So have that episode in your mind when you're on the show so that you can send somebody, go to episode 76. It's, 6 ways to deal with a hater, because we are going to face that as anybody that creates anything in content on the internet. Somebody's not going to like you. So here's 6 ways to deal with that. Right. And one of the key ones is don't let it get to your heart. Like, don't let it get that far, right? Those comments. So episode 76 would be a great place to start for the How to Podcast series. So you should have something like that. Don't just have just come to my, listen to whatever. Like, you should have somewhere to send people when you're asked for that. So it's part of your elevator pitch. I think that's really important.
Oh, that's like, I've never thought of that before, but thank you for that tip. I feel like that is so key. And then people are more excited to go listen to because it's like something you're excited about, Yeah,
it's intentional, right? It's like, I'm looking for that episode and I'm going to go there first.
Yeah.
Right? It's kind of that taste test for your show. I like that. Let's do a quick little lightning round. I don't know, just make this up in the thing. So, audio, video, podcast. Which one do you prefer?
This is so hard because for my career, up until like 650 episodes, it was audio in person. And then last October, because I have a crew of podcasters that we like meet monthly here. And everyone was like video, because you can post it. And so then I became a video virtual gal. But I think I still love audio because you don't see it's like what we were talking about before this with the voice, right? That the coaches aren't seeing the person at first when they're singing. I think that sometimes you can make snap judgments about someone by like how they're looking or how they're talking with their hands. So I still love audio, but I also think that video it gives you so many more ways to share that content with video as well. But I mean, but personally listening, I usually listen and I'm not watching a video,
What app do you use to listen to podcasts on?
It used to be Apple Podcasts and now it's Spotify.
Really?
Yeah.
Interesting. What's the change?
Well, because if I do want to like see like how someone, because sometimes with podcasts now they'll like refer to things, but it's like in the video, it's like you don't really know what they're talking about. So I've done video because like Amy Poehler with Good Hang, she'll like if someone's talking about what makes them laugh, she'll share a clip of it. And so I think I just started using Spotify for sometimes when I do want to like watch the video really quick.
What's one thing that you've heard from a listener that made you happy?
What you just told me today, Dave.
Come on.
Holy cow. You guys. Okay, so I'm going to share this with your listeners. I was really nervous for this, right? Because I think that sometimes when you're always hosting, you know what to expect, and I didn't know what to expect. And I get on and you tell me that you've listened to every episode and you're complimenting me and everything. And it was just like, sometimes you work so hard as a podcaster and you aren't like seeing the people listening. Yeah, you might see your stats, but you're like, does anyone care? Was that just a random thing that they clicked on? And so like that absolutely not just made my day, it's made my entire month, maybe even my year,
Come on. All right. Well, if our whole time together leads to that, then that makes me really happy. Okay. What's one engagement tool that you've used in your podcast that works?
I think like honestly, Instagram stories for
Okay.
me, to post the link on there that often I feel like I can see the difference of if I post about the video clip and if I do a video explaining why I love the episode I just did and then give the link, I feel like that's my best engagement that I've seen.
Okay.
What about you?
Two part. Me,
Can I ask that?
yeah. Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. We can go back and forth. Yeah, for sure. Engagement tool would be you did an episode around Telby, which
Oh
I
yeah.
never heard of before, which I love. Great episode, by the way. Everyone should go check that out. I use SpeakPipe for my show. I've been using it for about 2 years now. I think I have, I don't know, 300 episodes, 300 recordings from listeners. The moment I got my first recording from a listener on that, and I heard a voice for a person who listens to my show, all of my stats went away. I'm like, I have a voice. Somebody left me I heard their voice, and I'm like, oh my gosh, it's real. There's real people out there, right? Because otherwise, they're just numbers on a screen on your computer. But when somebody actually leaves you a message, it's just like the most. I rewound that and played that over and over and over and over again. I was like, that's a real person. To get somebody to actually step forward and do something like that, to make the conscious effort to, I will leave you a message. Come on. It's the coolest thing ever. And this, what I do is I'll bring the message into my podcast, and I'll have kind of like at the end of the show, kind of like, hey, got a message. Steph left me a message on SpeakPipe. Here's Steph's message. Hey, Dave, it's Steph from Pod Savvy Guide, blah, blah, blah. It's like, isn't that cool? Like I got a message from, and what happens is then it gets reshared by people who don't understand what podcasts are. It's like a radio show. It's like getting on the radio, right? You make a request for a song and they play it you. They're like, hey, Steph's here. Yeah, Steph, what's the song you want to hear? Oh my gosh, right? You're on the radio. People don't understand what's happening, but when they hear their own voice on your show, a show they love, they'll tell everybody. And that's what you want. You want people to tell people about your show. So I just bring those clips into my podcast as often as possible so that people can promote whatever and hear their voice on my show. I think it's so cool. So yeah, SpeakPipe's been great for that.
Okay, can I ask a question on that? Because I did that episode on the messaging because I want to integrate it. But then how are you sharing it? Are you sharing it on social media? Are you sharing it on your website? Like how do you get the word out?
Right into my show, right in my podcast.
Oh, in your show notes?
Right into the show. No, like right in, like it'll be like, as I'm doing my recording, I'll bring it in as the audio into my podcast and say, hey, everybody, I got a message from a listener. Here's the message. And then I have the sound of like a phone dialing, and then you hear their voice. So it's like actually into the show, right?
Into the show. And then how, how did they know to find that? Like the link to record?
Yeah, so I'll have as my call to action. It's also on my website. It's in my show notes. Right. So it's one click to get right through to me. So, yeah. So that's one engagement piece. It really works.
See, and I'm excited for that because that's something that I want to add. So thanks for that encouragement with it.
Well, there you go. I'm going to have to come and use your tool and leave you a voice message. There you go. As a listener from your community, yes, I will do that for you 100%. The other one I use is Buy Me a Coffee. It's been great for me on my show. It's to the point where Buy Me a Coffee sent me an email because they thought I was doing something underhanded with their platform. They're like, people don't normally get this kind of response, and you've only been using it for a short time. What are you doing? It was the owner of the company emailed me, and I'm like, I'm not doing anything wrong. I'm just telling people to use it, and people are using it. They're like, okay, because it's been significant, like very kind of the people who listen to my show. And on top of that, the camera I'm using came from Warsaw, Poland, from a listener. My computer died. And so somebody bought me a brand new desktop computer, showed up at my house, one of my listeners. So it's like you just tell people and you just be open and say, well, having troubles with my camera this week. Oh, I'll buy you a camera. It's like, what? I'm like, what do you mean? Yeah, I'll buy you a camera. Okay. And then the computer showed up, and then the Buy Me a Coffees. It's just all of these things work together. That's engagement, right? So it goes beyond. Sometimes you don't always get comments or DMs, but when somebody throws $5 at you and says, Steph, I love what you do. Thanks. Like, I think people want to be nice. They want to do nice things for people that they care about, right? So if we give them an opportunity to do that, that's all we have to do. I have this belief that we do not have because we do not ask, right? If we don't put it out there and say, leave me a voice message. I'd love to hear from you. Leave me, if you want to help support the show, just my Buy Me a Coffee link. Those things are a way for people to do something small, but combine that with a bunch of people, it turns into something quite big, right? So it's very encouraging when that stuff happens.
Man, okay, that's so cool.
So when I help a new podcaster get set up and we're doing our introductory things, I get them to set up their Buy Me a Coffee right away and set up their SpeakPipe. And what I tell them is, because of the generosity of the listeners for my shows, I want to be your first voicemail and I want to be your first donation of coffee. So the money that comes to me, I have a job. I technically don't need the money that comes to through my Buy Me a Coffee. I reinvest it into other podcasters. It just kind of comes through me to them. So last year, my wife and I went to a podcasting conference in Alberta, and we're in Ontario. So we flew out there, and we actually grabbed a new podcaster who lives out in that part of the world. And because of my audience paid for them to go to a conference, paid for their hotel and all their food from my listeners. So this podcaster, a brand new podcaster, got to go for free because my listening audience paid for the whole thing.
Oh,
thanks,
cool.
Everybody. Right?
That's awesome.
Isn't that amazing? So that person got a free conference experience, and they only had like 1 or 2 episodes when they went. So that's so cool. Like, that's what I love about podcasting. Once you tap into that community side of it, it goes beyond just recording content. It's a relationship. It's really, really fun.
And can I ask, like, why are you so passionate about helping podcasters?
I had one guy on my show. His name is Mike. He was on my show a little while ago. Mike, he had a very unhealthy relationship, romantic relationship, and his wife basically asked him to leave the house. And in that, he was told that he was not worth anything and nobody cared about him. And he went away and he tried to leave this world, we'll put it that way. He was unsuccessful. In the morning, he stumbled out to his pickup truck, got in, and turned on his truck. And instead of music, a podcast came on. We don't know how this happens, but a podcast came on in his truck. And the podcaster was talking about a subject that was just for him, like perfect for him. And I think of the podcaster who recorded that episode months before. No idea who Mike was, no idea about Mike in the truck, no idea what Mike had just done the night before. But because of that episode, Mike took a new path in life, and now Mike helps other people with their mental health. So had it not been for that podcaster to record that episode and release it when they did, so it was available to Mike in that moment, I don't know if Mike would have been able to come on my show. So when somebody says it's just content, there's something else there. I have proof that a podcast, in this case, can actually save and change somebody's life. So there's a quote that I really love, Steph, that I'd love for you to kind of think about. It's about an apple seed. And simply it says, you can count the number of seeds in an apple, but you can't count the number of apples in a seed. So when we look at our stats, we see 1 listen. We're like, oh, this is terrible. Only 1 person listened to my latest episode. I'm not very good at this, am I? Wait a minute. What if that 1 person is Mike? And what you talked about in that episode helped Mike. And what if Mike's life is different because of your 1 episode and that 1 listen? What if Mike then went home and treated his partner better, raised his kids better, and all of the generations after were better because of 1 episode? You can't count the number of apples in the seed. It's impossible, right? Wow. So I look at my stats in a different light. I'm not here to collect numbers. I'm here to collect people. That's my goal in life. And that's why I'm so passionate about podcasting. I get to talk to you. Like, you have poured so much into me as a listener. And now I have time with you. It's like, it's kind of surreal. Like, it's really kind of cool. So I just think that's what I really resonate with your show and how you do this, is because you are in the same type of journey. You just pour into people and you do this unselfishly. You just share what you know and what you're learning, and you're just you. And I think that's something that's so cool about podcasting. You're not going to get this on Instagram. You're not going to get this on YouTube. You're going to get this through podcasting. And I think that's the secret sauce of podcasting in a world of AI and all this other stuff, is the human connection, right? So that's why I do what I do. It's the coolest thing ever. And I get a little bit from you that there's a part of that that's really important to you as well.
Oh yeah, for sure. I mean, like that was like a powerful story right there, because I do feel like I had a time in my life where I was having my 30 life crisis. I was working at a fishing lodge in Alaska that was like so remote and such slow Wi-Fi that I would have to like download the episodes I wanted the night before so that they would download by the morning, you know? And I remember like those podcasters, because I have very few coworkers. There were only 6 of us, right? The guests were out all the time. I was super lonely, didn't know what I was doing in my life. And those hosts like became like friends to me,
Right,
you know, like
right.
they really, it was like that parasocial, like it felt like, okay, this was my person, even though I felt so alone. So I completely agree with everything that you're saying. And I like forever, I didn't look at stats, I would say, until like the last 2 years, as I've been like, okay, if I'm teaching people how to podcast, let's teach them how to grow their podcast too. Let's figure some things out. But I'm so glad that that wasn't a big focus forever, because I've seen so many podcasters leave because of their stats, because they're like, well, no one's listening. But like opportunities like this morning of being able to connect, I'm like these are the awesome moments where we're interviewing guests where it's like for a moment, like you get to be in their shoes for just a second as they tell a story, like with Mike, you know?
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, and I think that's the kind of moments that sit with me. I'll go back upstairs with my wife, Jen, and I'll just sit down in my chair in the living room, and she looks at me. She's like, yeah, I had a long day. I'm like, yeah, I talked to a lot of people today, and it's amazing who you get to connect with. And I just feel like my cup fills up, right? And even though it's draining to do all this podcasting stuff, the time with people and having connections with people. And now the next time your new episode comes out, I have you in my mind and I've had this conversation. So it's even going to be even better for me, right? So as you listen to this as podcasters, trying to build a community around your show is so important. And when your show is tiny, that's the best time to start building these relationships, because you only have to track down 5 people who are listening to your show. That's a lot easier to do than 500. So when you have this, then start doing whatever you can to call them out. And my example would be using my SpeakPipe. For one of my shows, I have a show called the Podcast Editing and Support Show. It's a totally different podcast. So I host that one as well. And I saw in my stats over a 5-episode period of time, I had a new listener in a certain city in Germany. So it wasn't the other episodes. It was only those 5, the most recent 5. So at the beginning of a new episode, I just said, hey, welcome to the Podcast Editing and Support Show. I just want to say there's a listener in this city in Germany. I see you. You've been listening to the last 5 episodes. Thank you. I would love to hear your voice, because I'm in Canada, you're in Germany. Like, come on. So leave me a message on SpeakPipe. Love to do that. Did the episode. And at the end of the episode, before I left, I'm like, oh yeah, before we go, thanks for listening, everyone. To that person in Germany, just a reminder, I'd love to hear your voice. That's it. Put the episode out. 3 weeks later, email pops up. I have 9 different shows, right? So I don't know which show this is in relation to. SpeakPipe message. I'm like, okay, press play. And it's, hi, my name is Simit and I live in Germany. I am the person that you called out. I just wanted to say, I love your show, la, 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 la. It works. You just have to put it out there, right? And he responded. It was like the coolest thing. Now we're friends on LinkedIn. So when your audience responds, so as you listen to this as a new podcaster, and you see 5 listens, and one's in Columbus, Ohio, one's in Toronto, Ontario, one's in Frankfurt, Germany, go get them. Go find these people because they're showing up for you, and start building these people. Try to do what Steph and I are doing, like get on the screen with them and have some time with them, voice messages, back and forth, DMs, something. But start that foundation and start building from that when you have a tiny audience. It's not something to be sad about or just make you feel like you're not good at this. That's the perfect time to build up 5 people because they're easy to track down. Just keep asking them. They'll show up. They'll do it, right? So that's kind of my encouragement for new podcasters is when I hear people say I only have 1 listen, you can't count the number of apples in a seed. Enjoy it, right?
Wow. Well, and I love that you're doing that with guests. And this is why I love nerding out with fellow podcasters. Because it's like, I have so many ideas that I want to go like try. But I think that like, that's the cool thing where you said that now you're connected with that guest or that audience member in Germany on LinkedIn. And I do that with my guests, like I love like cheering them on, like seeing them on social media, like whatever. I feel bonded to them afterwards. And now I'm like, oh, like I think I've been like wondering how to feel more connected with people that are listening for a bit now, and you just answered that question, and now I'm like so excited to explore that.
So I have a question for you. Some of the times I talk to podcasters who are so engrossed in learning about podcasting, they'd have like 25 gurus, they listen to 100 podcasts about podcasting, they've been to conferences and courses, and they bought all the books, they've done everything, they've learned so much about podcasting, yet they have never started. They're just so caught up in this information gathering stage. And when you ask them, well, how's your podcast coming along? It's been 2 years of you gathering information, yet you haven't recorded anything yet. If you could sit down with a podcaster trapped in the information overload stage, where they just feel like I just need one more piece before I go and do the first recording, how would you navigate a new podcaster who seems to be trapped in that stage of just learning and wanting to be a sponge? How do you break them out of that and help them to get started?
So this is something that I have been really passionate about lately. And I think that sometimes there's another layer below that. I think that sometimes there's, and maybe it is that they don't have the time right now or whatnot. Like time can be a real thing, but let's look at you, right? Like you have a full-time job and you have 9 podcast series, and in 5 years you've done 2,000 episodes. So there's a will. If there's a will, there's a way. And so I actually asked a group of women, like, why haven't you started your podcast? And it was interesting some of the reasons that they told me. Like, and I was like, well, I just don't know if I have enough to say, or the technology, or what are people going to think, or how they look. And like, there was a long list of why people haven't started. And so I think that that's the thing of, if you aren't starting, maybe look and ask yourself the real question of why. And I heard on a podcast recently, the guest was like, if you look at yourself and ask yourself a question in the mirror, it's really hard to lie to yourself. And I agree with that. When you're like actually like looking at yourself and asking, like, why are you not doing this? And especially if you're paying for all these gurus and courses and you're hearing experiences, like, how do you hear experience about Mike and not want to go start your podcast,
Right.
And so I think that there's that other layer of some sort of fear or insecurity. And I have read before, over and over, like, it was sort of if I guess it's a journal entry, like, of my fears when I started. And I was like, what if my guests hate their audio? What if like people are like, who is she? She's not a journalist. Why is she starting a podcast? All these things. And all of those fears actually came true at one point. I had a guest ask if I could take their episode down. I had people that were close to me who criticized, all those things. But at the end of the day, like, actually starting, like what we were talking about, podcasting's changed my life for the better. And it's not just because it's my career now. It's because like of all the things I've learned, even from, I mean, I do real estate podcasts, right? And I knew to get my first place, even though it was like COVID and everyone was saying at the very beginning, like, don't buy, because I had heard all these experts, you know? And so that's a long tangent of it all, but I really think that oftentimes there's another reason behind it. And being a creator can be a uncomfortable thing. You know, you are creating something and putting it out there that people can judge. But at the same time, you are creating something and putting it out there that is exciting and is something that you're putting on the World Wide Web, which is a big deal.
Growing your show. What's your answer to somebody who comes and says, Steph, I want to grow my show? Well, what's a quick answer? What do you give them?
I think that's the question that a lot of people have. I think that trying to be consistent with it, giving yourself a big goal, you know, like what you're doing 90 podcasts in a day. I know day in a month. I just did 100 podcasts in 100 days. I think that, like, first off is like putting the content out there, right?
Right.
And then second off is posting it on social media. Most of my favorite podcasts I've found have been through social media clips. So
one of the ones that I always say when somebody asks about growth, I'm like, what kind of growth?
Yes.
Like, define growth. What does that mean for you? Because growth can mean anything. So, like, for example, growth could be a listener comes to your show and listens to the entirety of the episode, not just the beginning. That's growth, because now they're sticking with you for the whole 30 minutes of your 30-minute show.
Yeah.
That's an indicator to Apple and Spotify and YouTube that your show's really good, because everyone that comes there stays. So apps notice that. So people coming to your show and listening to the entirety of the episode is growth. That's one measurement. Growth could be the depth of your connection with your audience. They're not just passive people that you never meet, but you actually have conversations with them. That's growth.
Mm-hmm.
There's also grow in numbers. That's also important. But there's a bunch of different elements to growth. So my question always back to them is, define growth. And they'll look at people who are like, I just want a big show.
Yeah. Well, no,
Right?
that's so true, especially for like business to business podcasts, because if you're wanting to make that person your client, then the stuff don't matter. You know, like it's all the perspective. So I love that.
Talk a little bit about that group that you have for podcasters. I'm really curious about that, because I'm doing like a meetup group twice a week on meetup.com. Talk a little bit about your group. What do they do, and kind of how does that work?
Yeah, so we're actually on pause for the moment, but we've been doing it for 5 years. And I think that's the thing, is that like sometimes, I mean, it's all volunteer based, right? And but I do it through my work. And so sometimes like we're really busy right now. So I just have to put stuff on back burner. And it's like, hey, we'll reconvene in January, you know, we'll figure it out. But that's how we've been able to keep it going through the years, is like sometimes it's like, hey, you know what, we're breaking for summer, we're breaking for like the fall, but I've loved being able to get together and, like I said, just nerd out with different podcasters. I've learned so much from them, and it's a lot of fun. And I think at the beginning it was like I had so many friends in it, and it was like at night. So it was more people who like, it was hobbyists, you know, and we switched during the day to like business, and it's just never felt the same again, if that makes sense. Right. Where when it was at night, like people would stay until like 10 p.m. just like talking and everything. So I'm sort of in like the phase of like, you know, do we switch to online? What do we do? But I think with any journey like that, like sometimes, there's different changes that can go on, and sometimes it's not the same. And anyways, so that's a little bit with that, but I've loved it. And I think the biggest thing is like when I first was calling all these podcasters who had more experience than me, I felt like such imposter syndrome. And I was like, who am I to do this? But it's given me so much confidence over the years. I've learned so much, and I'm so grateful for it. And it is something that I want to keep going for a long time of my life. I just don't know what direction.
All right. Before I ask my last question as we head for the door, because you have other things to do, it's a podcasting day for you. Talk about PodSavvy, the website, and kind of where we're going to send people to fall in love with you and what you do, and also join your community of listeners. Where do you want to send people to follow up with you?
I think right now is just my Instagram, which is just Steph Shoell, and that's spelled Shoe double L. And on it, I just share videos, share the links to things, and you can find it all that way. But I really have loved growing a community on Instagram.
Excellent. One resource for podcasters that you've been using recently, or you heard about, or you're curious, whatever, a resource, a book, a website, anything, a tool that we can leave for a podcaster?
Well, now the show, I'm so impressed.
Okay.
But also, guys, like, I am not a paid Riverside FM spokesperson, but I probably should be because I talk about it all the time. But they just came out with even more AI features. And if you're like wanting editing to be faster and like do video podcasting, I just can't reach Riverside FM enough.
Excellent. Yeah. Mine would be a book I just got. I had the audiobook already. Tom Webster, The Audience is Listening, A Little Guide to Building a Big Podcast.
Oh, I love that.
This book needs to be right beside your monitor. Tom Webster, The Audience is Listening, A Little Guide to Building a Big Podcast. The audiobook is amazing, and the paperback book is equally as amazing. Stuff like creating a kind of like a questionnaire for your audience to fill in, right? A survey. There's a whole bunch of survey questions in here. He's a little snarky. He's a little fun to listen to. And he's just full of knowledge. So yeah, that's one of my tools I've been recommending lately. The Audience is Listening, A Little Guide to Building a Big Podcast by Tom Webster. It's a really good book.
I'll have to check it out.
There you go. I love it. All right. Again, as we go out, thank you for your show. Thank you for what you do. On behalf of your community, as a member of your community of listeners, thank you for showing up, being consistent, giving us such great content over all this time. Really appreciate what you do, and I am going to continue being in your audience, listening away. So the next time you come to the microphone and you hit record, and you're like, why am I doing this? Think of Dave going, I can't wait for this episode. Where is it? I'm going to keep looking at my phone. It's not here yet. I'm waiting and listening. So thank you for all that you do, Steph.
You're welcome. And like, seriously though, I was thinking that throughout. I was like, I need to be more consistent with this if Dave's listening. And can I have you be a guest on there?
Oh, hello. Come on. Anytime.
Okay.
On my favorite show? Come on. Don't threaten me with a good time. All right. I like that.
I'll send you over a link. But seriously, this absolutely made my day, my week, my year. So thank you so much.
All right. And everyone, if you want to also continue to make Steph's day, go listen to her show, rate, review, give her a follow, give her a comment, however you listen, wherever you listen. Get out there and let her know that you're there, because I know she'd love to hear from you. Go check out the episode. I'll put a link in the show notes. Go try out her tool for voice messages and just fill up her inbox with messages. Everybody just go hit her up and just leave her a great message as well. Thank you, Steph, for being on the show. Really great having you here.
Thank you, Dave.
Hey, thanks for listening to the podcast all the way through to the end. I love having these great guest co-hosts on the show to share their podcast with you. You have some homework to do. And what I'm asking of you is to go check out our featured guest co-host today. Go over and listen to their podcast. The links are always in the show notes. I'd love for you to go and give them your love and support. And I think if we can all do that for each other, podcasting will be a lot more fun for all of us. So it's time to do what you've asked others to do for you. It's time to do for this guest co-host. Links in the show notes. Go over and check out their show and leave them a review, do the follow, go listen to their episodes in full, the entirety of an episode, which again shows to the apps that it's a good podcast because you're going there and you're staying to the end. It's probably one of the best ways you can help a podcaster grow their audience and be shown to more people is by simply going and listening wherever you listen to the very end, like you're doing right now here. This is the perfect way to signal to wherever you're listening on, this is a podcast worth promoting. And all of the apps want you to stay on as long as possible. So go over and listen to our guest co-host episode. and leave them some feedback. If they have a buy me a coffee, send them a coffee. If they have a speak pipe, send them a voice message. If they have an email, send them an email. If they're on Instagram, send them a direct message. Do something to support our guest co-hosts. They've given up their time to be here with you, to be here with me, and we can give that back to them with time and attention, our love, our support. Thank you for doing all that for me as well. Here on the How to Podcast series, we'll talk to you soon for our next episode.